Hello, my name is Brant Hunt. My channel simply is Discerning What is True. I am broadcasting today. Today is the February the 18th, 2026. And we're going to be reading from the book Sacred Geometry, which is written by Robert Lawlor. It'll be chapter 9. And the title simply Anthropos. So let's get into the reading. Hope everyone is doing well today. Again, learning something new is always exciting. Just to learn things that you don't know, and those who tend to know far more than you do. So that's what it's about a lot of times, just to be able to discern things. You see. So let's get into the reading here. The geometry cosmology we have been surveying is part of a mystic doctrine of creation known as Anthropos. So that's spelled Anthropocosmic, a doctrine which is fundamentally to the esoteric tradition and philosophy since the earliest times, and which has been restated in our time by gentlemen such as Rudolf Steiner and R.A. Schroeder de Lauretz and others. The first principle of this theory is that man is not mere constituent part. Hold on a second here. Issue here. Is not mere constituent part of this universe, but rather he is both the final summarization product of evolution and the original seed potential out of which the universe germinated. We may use the analogy of the seed and the tree, which is, what's his name here, does talk a little bit about the alphabet that changed the world, which was a gentleman named Stan Tennant talks about that. There's another guy, and I can't think of his name. Shoot. Anyway, well, maybe it'll come to me in a minute. So we may use it. Okay, so it's the tree of the life, the tree of the universe is the actualization of the seed potential, which is cosmic man. I am using the word man here in relation to his Sanskrit root manas, M-A-N-A-S, meaning mind, end quote, or the consciousness which can reflect upon itself. You see, no other being here, plant world, mineral world, and even animal world is able to actually reflect upon its own consciousness. Like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Where did I come from? You see, those are basic questions, but basically most people never even address those, you see. But the animal world doesn't do that. It's not even cognitive, even it is real, you see. It's almost as though it's on a script, so to speak. The same image of the identity between seed and tree, or between cosmic man and transcendental man on the tree of evolution, is given in the book of Genesis. To elaborate, I use some ideas from the Cipher of Genesis by the Kabbalist author Carlo, C-A-R-L-O, Suarez, S-U-A-R-E-S, putting them in terms of anthropological cosmic thought. In chapter 1 of Genesis, Adam is placed in the garden with all the animals and plants already created. So Adam is the summation or final stage of the evolutionary process. In other words, there's no one else, so to speak, here at this point. This conforms to the paradigm of man, the container or recapitalizer of the entire evolutionary unfolding which preceded him. In chapter 2, Adam, then in brackets says, now concerned as this schismatic organization of the entire cosmic metabolism, that is, in bracket, is the first born thing. interesting to use that word firstborn thing because God is nothing, no thing. You understand that? God is nothing. He's no thing. God is not a part of the 3D world. Okay. People forget that or don't understand that. And so here it's saying simply the man is basically a firstborn thing. In this chapter, which seemingly contradicts the first, that is, Yahweh Elohim created all the animals and shows them to Adam. And Adam is tested by having to name them one by one. Now, here's a problem. This is you know, well, I won't go into that. We won't stay there. We'll come back to that. In this test, Adam recognizes each species as an offshoot of his own central trajectory. So he's able to know these things, you see. He can recognize them, give them names. Animals don't have that ability. They don't look at a tiger and say, you know, you're a monkey or whatever, you see. They don't have that ability. So there's far more expectations from man than there is with animal world. And naturally, the animal world is even far more superior in a way than the plant world. He can name them because he knows them to be of himself. Adam is the core trunk, you see, of the evolutionary tree. The animal species are the relatively fixed, specialized lateral branches from the surging core. The apparent contradiction between chapter 1 and 2 of Genesis finds a parallel in contemporary embryology, which also gives us two contradictory theories for human development. The recapitation, end quote, theory, and that of neotenity, end quote. The former, which corresponds to Genesis 1, is the theory that animals repeat the adult stage of their ancestors during embryonic and postnatal growth. Therefore, the human embryo passes through all the major evolutionary phases which have preceded him, and not only the mammal, the reptiles, the fish, and the vegetables, but also in the early stages of cellular division, all the regular geometric solids. Neotenet, however, poses as almost opposite view, which corresponds to Genesis 2. This theory is based on the fact that there are over 20 important bodily characteristics which are common to both man and primate, but in the primate, they appear in a stage of embryo or the juvenile and are then outgrown. Physically, humans appear as prematurely born primates in which these physical features have been harmonically linked, or I should say braked or arrested. Adam, in naming the various species, recognizes, or shall we say, remembers his own embryonic, that's his embryonic past, is a recapitation. But he also recognizes himself as the fiery seed, the primal pattern for the total organic process or universal life. Adam, at the moment of creation, might declare, I see nothing which is not me. I see nothing which is altogether like me. Thus, Adam passes a test. He goes beyond the identification of himself with the successive mineral, plant, and animal phases of life. Or we could say evolution. So the idea here, it's got a little schismatic here. The idea of cosmic man is echoed in contemporary science in the concept of the hologram, which demonstrates that each fragment of a whole contains the constituents of the overall structure of the whole. At the same time as a particular partial or that whole is expressed itself as an individual. In ancient science, the metaphorical application of the notion of the antocosmic was the basic for astrological philosophy. And in alchemy, it may be found again at the search for the philosophical stone. That is, quote, that part in which the whole may be found, end quote. In the Renaissance, that is, the Renaissance period, drawing the body of man is placed in a relation with the important proportions of universal geometric forms and numerical ratios. Here we see the correlation between square root of 2 and the procreation organ of man. Evolution at the same time identifies himself with the highest power in the organization of cosmic energy. The unmanifested geometry of the seed-idea with his identification with his original universal nature, Adam is ready for his incarnation as Adam Catman, the embodiment of cosmic or divine man. The Vedic tradition transmits the same anthropic cosmic vision from a more metaphysical position. It tells us that God created the universe from a desire to see himself and to adore himself. The being of this inconceivable God may be considered as a all-conscious or all-containing, all-powerful, homogeneous, endless expanse of pure, formless spirit. His desire to see himself created, or brackets, or distinguished from himself, in bracket, an idea of himself called in Indian thought the, quote, real idea. This divine self-appreciation, that is the creative world, in brackets, in Judeo-Christianity thought. This event itself is cosmic man, and this cosmic man is what we actually, man, call the universe. The creative universe is the creative universe is then seen as a nourishing placenta through which this divine self idea is embodying itself or incarnating, that is, a genesis, clothing itself in matter so that it is to become perceptible and adorable. This position is the inverse of our ordinary thinking. Humanity is not seen as the child or product of Mother Earth, but rather Earth is essential quality contained within the character of cosmic man. Anthropopodic cosmic philosophy imaged evolution as a continual inversion exchange between external cosmic man and evolving humanity. The universal being performs an evolution, that's involution, not evolution, but involution into the dense seed form of itself. In principle, this is imaged by the mineral kingdom, the extreme of inconsistent, fixed distification. This involves seed, then provokes a opposite movement of evolution. The plant kingdom follows, which then lifts upward and onward. It emanates, frees, and embodies the divine qualities which were locked or involved in the mineral. So you can see this whole idea that man has these things that have come from the lower beings, you see. These divine qualities manifested and clarified themselves as functional principles and stages of growth in the plant kingdom. That is root, stem, leaf, flower, fruit, seed, which we can read as symbol analogies for the entire universe process of becoming. The animal kingdom then appears to be an inversion of the plant process, and we can detect here an alternating rhythm of involution and evolution, which gives rise to the succession of the kingdoms. The animal itself, that is in quotes, involves, end quote, and again, the principles and activities and vital functions which the plant has, quote, that should say not has, but had, quote, evolved, end quote, or open, clarified, and uplifted. The animal achieves through this involution the power of individual mobility, which is the necessary predecessor of individual will. The involution can be considerable as the materialization of spirit, and the evolution as the spiritualization of matter. Rudolf Steiner gives a effective image for this process by observing that man in his animal body is in reality no other than a plant turned inside out. The respiratory function in the plant is the leaf. This function of performed open is the sun of the outer stream of principle of branching. You see the branching within the lungs. In man, the respiratory function is the lung, you see. Its branches are within, not outside, but within. To continue the analogy, we observe that the flower, which is the sexual organ of the plant, grows upward and pulls the energy of the plant upward towards the light. Whereas in man and animal, the sexual organ face downward and pull the energies of the body downward. The plant roots in the earth. In man, the characteristic root function is found in the convolution of the brain, which is rooted in the sky of thought and mental energies. And actually, when it says sky here, that's the highest part of you. That's your, in reality, that's your air sign up here. You know, the four elements, you know, earth, fire, water, I should say heart, and then the air sign is definitely your head. The mental process is a process of digestion, assimilation, and transmutation, which functions as a higher frequency of the digestive process. The form of the intestines being also convoluted, that is, in the way to succession of kingdoms from mineral to plant to animal in the physical world, becomes a symbol for the constant movement in involution and evolution of one being, which has divided into the complementary qualities of spirit and matter. Within the logic of this vision of evolution, the purpose of physical man is to transform his involved animal incarnation into a body of light, just as the plant evolution did for the involved mineral kingdom. Through the vision of man as cosmos, the cosmic anthroposm, sacred geometry becomes cosmic ground, depleting the drama of this divine birth. And during all temple building epochs, the sacred architecture based on this geometry has been a book revealing this eternal drama. In India, I don't know how to pronounce this, I'm just trying my best here. The Vastu Shamadala, the tradition of temple design founded on cosmic man, is still alive. We also find that the architectural model for the great Gothic cathedrals was the universal Christ-man on the cross of creation. In Egypt, there is one great temple patterned on the human figure. This is the temple of Lawlor, that's Luxor, where cosmic man is figured in both the architecture and in the ritual, what they call it, the bas relief design, as in the process of being born. The Hindus' architecture sutra says, quote, the universe is present in the temple by means of proportion, end quote. In our time, there's a convergence between the new biological science based on cybernetics and information theory and the mystical doctrine of the Anthropos. The evolving universe around and within ourselves can be encountered only through the sensor instrument that we inhabit. Therefore, our brains and bodies necessarily shape all our perceptions and have themselves been shaped by the same seen and unseen energies that have shaped every perceivable thing. Body, mind, and universal mind be in parallel formative identity. Quote, man, know thyself, end quote, was the principle of ancient science, as it is also coming to be in modern science, to quote the physicist Robert Dicke. That's spelled D-I-C-K-E. Quote, the right order of ideas may not be. Quote, here is the universe, so what must man be? But instead, here is man, so what must the universe be? End quote. This is a quote by C.W. Misner, M-I-S-N-E-R, K.S. Thorne, Thornel, I should say, N-E, I should say, and J.A. Wheeler, Gravitation. The human body contains in its proportions all of the important geometric and geodesic measures and functions. The ancient Egyptian cubit, which is a tiny space communicants array, measures a 1/1000th of the distance that the Earth rotates at the equator in 1 second of a time. The foot, the phantom, the ancient Egyptian equivalent to the meter. All these measurements or measures are commensurated with the size or movements of the Earth. The relationship pi is given by the navel. In the idea of proportions of man, the arm span in relation to the total height gives the chord arc relation for a arc of 60 degrees. The height of the human upper body, that is, and it's in bracket above the hip socket, in bracket, is in relationship to the total height as the volume of a sphere is to the volume of its circumstance describing cube, which is 1.90983 in bracket. Also, the height of the upper body is to the height of the pubic arc as pi/3, or 1.047. Thus, the proportions of ideal man are at the center of a circle of invariant cosmic relationship. And he has a little graph here also, and there's another thing here. So it's this is in a book called of the Ishta or Cosmic Man. The Hindu architecture says the universe is in the temple of the proportion. Thus, the proportions of ideal man are at the center of a circle of invariant cosmic relation. And this is a relationship of Q to inscribed sphere. Through a identification with the essential universal proportions expressed through this idea of human form, individual man may contemplate the link between his own physiology and universal cosmology, thereby envisioning a relationship with his own universal nature. This array of universal proportions within the body of ideal man becomes the basics in many civilizations of a canon which governs the meter for chant and poetry, the movements of dance, and the proportions of crafts, art, and architecture. And it shows also here man and cross at the promise for the cathedral plan. In the philosophy of temple architecture, the temple is to represent the image of Para Diamond, the native man, the supreme archetype who emanates all of nature out of himself. This would be the Gothic cathedral at Alms, A-M-I-E-N-S, a civilization of universe or cosmic man, of whom Christ was an incarnation. In Egypt, the king was an earthly representation of the Anthropos cosmic principle and was the motif for the construction of the temple of Lawlor, or Luxor, someone would say. In both Renaissance and early Egyptian art, we see a canon of proportions used to construct the proportions of the human body. Both these examples make use of canon, or a canon, I should say, C-A-N-O-N, 1/8 or 9, quote, squares from feet to brow. Then it shows this part like this, a man, and it shows invariant geometry and geodetic relationships are expressed in human biometrics. And then A would be the arm span, which would be the phantom, which would be 4 cubits. B, the forearm equals the cubic. C equals the upper body. D, the lower body. E is the public arch. F is the navel or pi division. G equals the hara, H-A-R-A, or square root of 2 division equals 0.586. This vital center is called the, quote, seed dash pod, end quote, in the Tantra system, T-A-N-T-R-I-C system. The position of Hindu classical dance describes geometric angular relationships from the axis of the body, center of gravity, just below the navel. These positions, while defining principles, angles are also often attributed to various deities and are meant, I should say not and the, but and are meant to convey their characteristic powers. And that is the end of chapter 9. If I'm able to, I'll try to do the last chapter here, which will be chapter 10 of this particular book. I think this is the last chapter. Let me make sure. I don't want to tell everybody wrongly here. I'm scrolling down just to make sure this is the last chapter. Yeah, it is the last chapter. So we'll sometime we'll do this, maybe today, maybe maybe next day, tomorrow. We'll see how it works out. But that was the chapter 9 today. Let me get to that part here so I can make sure I give you the right thing here. So I appreciate you being here. This is chapter 9, Anthropos. That's Anthropos. Appreciate you being with us, and I hope you have a good day. You take care.